Tim Grover, one of the guys I love to follow, who was the personal trainer for Kobe Bryant,
Mm.
Michael Jordan, Dwayne Wade, all those guys. I got his book Relentless back there. And he says, listen, you don't absolutely have to like all the hard work, but you better crave the end result. You have to crave the end result.
Mm.
What do you want to accomplish in life? Right? And he makes no excuses. So one of the things that I like about him, and one of the messages is he says, your mind has to be stronger than your emotions. And that's
Mm.
hard to do. You know why? Because we are creatures of emotion. We
For
make,
sure.
even in the sales world, and I share this with sales guys. I do sales training for an organization right now. One of the things I tell them is that people will buy emotionally, but they'll claim it's logically. And it's very important that your tone and your word usage, your language, is in tune with that. But what I like is your mind has to be stronger. And here's what Tim says. Your emotions tells you to stay in bed. Your mind tells you get up and get out of there and go, man. You got things to accomplish today. So I think what separates those who accomplish more than others is they're committed, number one, to the disciplines, to the daily disciplines. And if you're not, you're going to wallow in mediocrity and you're going to suffocate. Here's what happens too. You're having some success and you feel it. You get on a roll. You know what I'm talking about. We all get on
Mm-hmm.
it. Some of the dreams now are coming to fruition. You got past the fear factor in certain areas, right? And the best way to get over fear, I tell people, get in the ring, put your mouthpiece on, put your headgear in, and fight. You take action, that relieves a lot of that tension. And so I love the idea of, okay, if you're going to be in the battle, you got to be willing to fight and you got to take action. Action takes care of a lot of things. And,
For sure.
you know, I put a little on a 3x5 card. I write out the word fear. I got this from somewhere. I don't remember, but it made sense to me. And I write it out in 2 columns and I acronym it. FEAR. You can fear everything and run, or you can face everything and rise. Now, isn't that a mindset?
Yeah,
It's a
I like that.
mindset. Yeah.
For me in fear, one of the and you hear something and you want to give credit to the person who said it, and I can never remember, but I heard somewhere, I don't know if it was a podcast or a book, somebody said you need to look at life like it's an experiment. If life is an experiment,
Oh,
then there
that's
never
good.
really is failure, right? You tried something that didn't work. That portion of the experiment didn't work. You have to take the things that in that experiment that didn't work, ask yourself why not, adjust, and go experiment again. And I love this thought process because I think that's a lot of what I did early in my sales careers with cold calling and sales and the like, was constantly tweaking, constantly experimenting. And there's certain things that still intimidate me, maybe certain rooms to walk in and the likes. But for the
Right.
most part, having just that thought process that everything's an experiment has really helped me push past some of the things that I felt clunky or awkward, or I didn't want to face some sort of rejection or something.
That's helpful for me hearing you say that. Donnie, I'm telling you, that's so helpful for me. And I had those same thinking, similar thinking. And again, it's like, go do it. You know, like people say, how do you know what works in sales? I like this one gentleman. I heard him on a podcast. He was a young guy, loved it. He was 25 years old. He's getting into it. He says, I don't think you can really answer that until you go out there and find out what works and what doesn't
Mm.
and document it. So we were taught when I got into sales training for machine tool sales back in Detroit, Michigan, uh, was to look at when you go out there, have a purpose behind why you're out there, right? Why are you there? What are you here to accomplish, right? What do you want to leave the customer with something to do? What do you want to leave them with, right? So it was such a science. And that in sales really is a science. Life is a
Oh, agreed.
science. And you nailed it. You said the word experiment. Without it, you will never, ever take chances. You'll never take risk. And another one from Jim Rohn, right? This is a great one I love from him. If you're not willing to risk the unusual, you'll have to settle for the ordinary.
Except you got to say it in Jim's voice and like drop it off on the end.
Yes, yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah. Of course. Right. So you know what? So my kids, that happened to us one time. So my kids, they're all personal growth. We have 5 children. They're all personal growth students. They had no choice. They'd be in the car, and I'm taking them to their baseball game, and I got my audios in, and they had, so my boys, they had it down to a science. So I'd say, hey kids, who are you playing today? Oh, we're playing this team. I go, you think you guys are going to win? And this is right out of it. Jim Rohn. Of course. They would say that. And I go, you guys knock it off. Come on, knock it off. Right. You know, my kids were my toughest critics. One time when I first got into motivational speaking around 2008, I said, you kids sit in the kitchen, sit on the stools. Dad's going to go through my presentation, my talk. Now I'm green at this. I'm just learning. Right. I got, my first time I'm ever going to do a motivational speaking engagement. So I'm testing it on my kids. And I said, okay, you kids, no funny faces. No, none of that stuff. You just listen to daddy and like you're in the audience. So we get started. My one kid gets up, the youngest, Joey. He gets up and he goes into the family room. He comes back out and he's got winter earmuffs over his ears and he just smiles at me. I said, I looked at him and I'm telling you, Donnie, I got through it. And after it was over, we all laughed so hard, we were on the floor laughing. I said, Joey, don't ever do that to me. He goes, Dad, I had to test you. Is that hilarious?